Hi, I'm Patty, and I'm a retired teacher. I taught for about 25 years at high school, and I'm a mom and a grandmother.
And my name is Arn. It's a pleasure meeting you. I go to Eastville Bible Church in Eastville, California, and I'm in retail management.
Nice to meet you.
So Arn and Patty, growing up, who are the people you were taught to fear and why?
I can start.
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, as a black man growing up here in Southern California, I grew up being taught about certain ways when the man or the police, came to you. You had to show them respect. You had to make sure that you didn't move. We were told, we were trained, if we ever get pulled over, just sit there, keep your hands visible. That's how we were raised. So when I first started driving, I was like 16 years old, driving, in West Covina. So I guess there weren't people of my color who drove very often in West Covina, and I got pulled over. Wow. And it was very terrifying, and I was doing nothing wrong, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Fortunately for me, he couldn't arrest me or give me a ticket because I just didn't slow down enough while making one of those stop turns. But I made sure, kept my hands on the steering wheel and made sure I didn't move quickly when he wanted to see the car registration. I literally said to him, I'm opening up my glove compartment and getting my car registration. When he asked me for my wallet, I'm reaching into my pocket and getting my wallet. So that's how we were raised. We were raised to make sure that we, how to act when we encounter policemen and how to give them respect.
That sounds really scary.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 16 at that time, but like I said, I was raised that way. You always saw police cars going up and down the street. And I remember we used to kind of like make fun of the police going, but my parents said, no, they're not your enemies. You need to show them respect. So every day we would see a police car go up and down the block. Yeah. And as I grew older, we would, say hello to them like they're, people of respect that we had to respect.
Wow. Wow. And that wasn't in my experience or in my brother's experience. I don't know what who was I taught to fear? I guess the things that come to my mind would be to not go someplace alone as a young woman, especially at night. I honestly don't remember having a lot of fears instilled in me of certain things to be concerned about. It was, everything I was told about the police is that they're there to help you. They're your friend. In the little primer, when you're learning to read, it's the policeman always coming and helping the little girl at the corner or whatever. So that's just hasn't been in my mindset until I began to hear stories of my brothers and sisters of color and how their experience has been so different than mine growing up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So none of us are perfect at reconciliation. Without judging each other, what would you confess is a thing you still need to work on regarding race? Or racism, excuse me, regarding racism.
I can go first. I think for me, I still have this socialization that normal is the way I was raised. Normal is, I guess, whiteness. And although I reject that in terms of what God says about how we're made and in God's image, and I've learned and grown so much by being part of the Center for Racial Reconciliation here at Fellowship, I'm aware that sometimes I'll be walking along the street and, just the other day, I saw two young men of color, just hanging out, and I thought to myself, what are those guys doing? And immediately, I just felt like the Spirit kind of caught me and said, yeah, would you think the same thing if those two men were not people of color? And so just all the layers of socialization to make assumptions and to also kind of assuming that my way of thinking is the right way of thinking. And I just have to constantly let the Spirit kind of bring that to my mind and peel that off. And I guess just that kind of a self-righteousness, or I should say a self-rightness of like, oh, this is the right way, this is the way to do things, and just being undiscipled or having racism discipled out of me, I guess is the way we've been talking about it. Yeah. So that's one of the things.
And it's funny how you say you're normal. I want you to know your normal is my normal. Okay? I was raised that your normal, that's the normal. I'm the one that's not the normal. Okay? I was raised with your normal. So when you say you see a couple of black guys, and you're kind of, that's the way I'm raised too, what are those guys doing? But I don't fear them the way you might fear them, okay? When I go places and a lot of times a black man will go places and you'll find out you're one of the few black men in the building, okay? That's my normal. Yes, you feel a little uncomfortable at times, but you have to adapt to my normal, so that's just the way we were raised.
So you're always adapting
Yes.
to the majority culture normal.
Yes.
And as a majority culture person living in a white skin,
Yes.
I'm just living and breathing in the
Yes.
normal.
I may be a black man and I'm living in a white
Yeah.
world. Yes. This church I go to right now is a predominantly black church. Okay, the last two churches I've gone to were predominantly black churches, and there's a comfort level there. Okay, I can talk normal. I don't have to watch the way I talk, or it's hard to explain. There's just such a different comfort level, but I believe in the same God you believe in.
Right.
I praise and worship the same way you praise and worship. I know that when we hear Pastor, Tate talk about grace, what you feel about grace is the same way I feel about grace, and I'm so happy that Jesus gave his life for me, little old me. Who am I? Okay, so I know these things are the exact same thing, but it's just the way we were raised. I just know that we are different, okay? You're a white woman, okay? I'm a black man, and I believe in all the politics of Democrats and, freedom of abortion rights, gay rights. Those are the things I believe in. My feeling deep inside, though, you're the exact opposite. Okay, I don't know you.
That's right.
I have nothing, I don't know you, we just met today, but in my mind, you're a Republican woman, you're against gay rights, and that's just what's ingrained in me of my beliefs about you, and I've never met you before.
I think that's so interesting because that's the bedrock of our divisions, is that we have these assumptions about one another.
Yes.
Yeah. And your assumptions, while they're founded for somebody who looks like me, they aren't me. But how would you know that?
Right.
Yeah, and I think, what Pastor's talking about being proximate, I think that's everything. If I'm not proximate, I mean, I've been afforded at the church that I go to here at Fellowship of being around a lot of people, not just to say I'm in a diverse situation, but getting to know stories and hear stories and understanding things that I never understood before because I didn't realize. You know, as a little kid growing up, you kind of think your world is like everybody's experiences life the same.
Yeah.
And to find out that we don't,
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for because it has broadened me. It helps me put on another lens and instead of just the lens that I was wearing before that. But thank you for sharing your assumptions about me because that helps me kind of look and think, okay, well, what are my assumptions about you or about somebody else, you know, and to kind of like try to pull those down. But yeah, they're legitimized in a lot of
Yes.
ways because of the systems and the cultures and the norms and
what we see
all
on
that.
TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Again, what we see on TV, that's my normal. That's what I was raised with.
Yeah. I get that.
What areas in your life require the most grace from others?
Okay, I'll start on that one. Here in Southern California, we have a large problem of homeless people. And I don't know their story. Again, like you don't know my story. I don't know their story. I don't know why they're homeless, what happened in their life that put them in the situation that they're in, okay? And I have to remind myself constantly, you don't know their story, don't look down on them. Don't think of them as a lesser person. And it's really something that I battle with. And I'm totally being transparent here, and I feel bad that I'm saying that, but that's one of my battles, trying not to look down on a homeless person, you know. If I have change, I try to give it to them, but more times than not, I'm not. I don't want to be bothered. You know, you stay in your box, then I'll stay in my box, okay? You want to sit outside the grocery store, fine. You don't need to speak with me. I'll leave you alone. Please leave me alone. And as a man of God, I shouldn't think that way. But I do. And it does trouble me that, you know, that I look down on people like that, or I don't consider them an equal, you know. They may have had a job once upon a time, and they may have worked as hard as I work on a daily basis, but I don't know that, and I look down on them at times, and I really feel bad when that happens.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really vulnerable. And I just want to encourage you and say the fact that you feel bad about it means that you're not as hard towards it as you might think you are. Because if it didn't even cross your mind, if it didn't concern you, if it wasn't something that you kind of lamented, then you wouldn't even be thinking about them as being image bearers of God. So, yeah. I think for me, you know, as I'm on this journey of learning about different people's stories and learning about the racial systems and the systems of oppression that benefit me and at the expense of others who are also made in God's image. As I learn more and more about that and am on this journey, I probably need grace for those who aren't on the journey. Because it's, I'll just say it's easier for me to talk to a person of color than it is for me to talk to a white person who doesn't want to acknowledge or see any of those systems. And so the temptation is to be, again, to move into a self-rightness.
Yeah.
It might be a different place of self-rightness, but that's still the temptation, to think that I'm right, I know more, to not stay in that place of humility and stay in that place of, there but for God's grace would I still be. So I think that's kind of where I really need the most grace from other people. And then grace from my siblings of color if I say something stupid or I don't know. I'm sure I'll do something that I don't realize is offensive, and it is offensive. And so gratefully I have people in my life that are gracious to me, but I need to turn around and give that same grace to somebody else who hasn't had the experience and the education and the relationships and the tutelage that I've recently been under. So that's kind of where I need grace.
That's great.
No question, just a quick answer and explanation. Do you have hope for racial reconciliation?
Yes, I have hope for racial reconciliation. The greatest commandment is to love, love thy neighbor. God commands us to love. God is love, and and that love is in us. And because of, as human beings, in the bottom of my heart, I truly believe we're the only beings on this planet that loves, and because we're made in God's image, okay, that is possible, and that's why I believe it's possible. We are God.
Yeah, that's good. I'm hopeful, yes, I believe and hopeful for racial reconciliation because, like you said, it's our calling. Not just racial reconciliation, but all reconciliation.
Yes.
And because it's not possible with us, but all things are possible with God.
Amen.
And if we are doing what He's called us to do.
Amen.
And He's a way maker and a miracle worker. And just to remember, kind of like what Pastor was saying today, that it's only by His Spirit that it's possible.
Yes.
But that gives great hope because,
Right.
like you said, His Spirit indwells us.
Yes.
And is gracious to us over and over again.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
His
I'm very
grace.
hopeful. It's really great to meet you.
Very good meeting you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.